Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. This is Marvin Fox Jr. This has become the podcast. How do you become anything? You dream, you declare, you commit, and success is your next breath. So this is like bonus material or maybe a second podcast for the day. So today you get two for one. But I wanted to interview my son. Marvin Fox III. So this is an impromptu type of podcast, so it won't be as structured as my other ones have been with the three-point of contacts and all of that. So I'll just tell you why I'm doing this podcast, and then I'm going to have Marv rap. Now, Marv's in the room with me right now. This is our Lego room, and on one side there's Legos, and the other side of the room there's Calico Critters, which is what my daughter plays with, and then Simon's in the room with us too. So again, if you hear plastic flying around, it's Simon. So I've been talking a lot about intention. I've been talking a lot about intention and how it has an impact on how the world sees you, how the world responds to you, so on and so forth. Simon. No. You leave these alone. I'll let you have them in a little bit. Yikes. All right. So, as I said before, I've been talking a lot about intention. Some things were falling down. We caught them, though. And the two questions that I love to ask when I talk about intention are, how do you want to show up? And how do you feel about what you're doing? So it's not enough to decide this is how I want to show up, but then you also have to feel or be deliberate in how you want to feel about what you're doing. And notice I said, how do you want to feel about what you're doing? That's going to have an impact on your work. It's going to have an impact how people mirror you, because the universe and people within the universe are simply a reflection of what we have going on the inside. That's the law of correspondence. So it's not enough to say this is how I want to show up, but this is also what I want to think while I'm doing what I'm doing. So there was a moment in time when Marv and I would have conversations, and Marv would stutter. He would become anxious. He would get nervous, and he couldn't complete a sentence. And Sarah, my wife, would get on my case and say, you got to be patient with him. You have to give him more time. And then out of defense of myself, just being confrontational, combative, not listening, I would say something like, well, he's got to learn how to communicate his ideas more efficiently. He's got to learn how to talk with confidence. And I would just kind of deflect the reality of me being a certain negative way or a certain kind of way, and just put all of the ownership and accountability on, at that time, on a young boy who wasn't even 10 yet. Now he's 10 now. And so after understanding this concept about intention, how do I want to show up? And then how do I think about what it is I'm doing? Or what do I want to think about what it is I'm doing? I started understanding the necessity to decide how I'm going to show with my son, because I'm very intentional about how I want to show up with friends, with clients. Very intentional. I want to be this symbol of possibility, this beacon of hope. I want to be a symbol of resilience. I want to be compassionate, empathetic, all of that, right? But then when it comes to people that I'm close to, my family, all of a sudden, I don't have as much intention. I'm just showing up. And then I'm wondering why my son is afraid to talk to me. I wonder why my son is afraid to converse with me, or he doesn't have the confidence. So I decided, okay, from this point forward, I want to show up better as a father, number one. Number two, I want to be excited and appreciative every time my son talks to me, so that long term, when life gets serious and he starts talking to me about girls and all this other stuff, he's looking at me when I say girls, like, I'm never going to be with girls, you know how kids are when they're young. When he starts talking to me about the serious stuff, hopefully we have so many hours invested in our relationship in terms of communication that he doesn't even see that talking to my father about this is something out of the ordinary. I talk to my father about everything. We talk about everything. right? So I'm going to talk to Marv. Marv's been listening to me. He's putting the Legos together and stuff like that. He's just been watching me and looking at me and doing his own thing. But I'm going to talk to Marv and ask him some questions and just hear the dialogue and ask him some questions. And I've not prompted him at all. So whatever you're going to get out of my 10-year-old son is going to be 100% authentic and raw. And it might be robust in terms of description, or there might be a one-word answer. Who knows? Simon, we're almost done. Simon's going crazy and his diaper stinks. So we're going to definitely wrap this thing up pretty soon. All right, Marv, you ready?
Kind of.
All right, you got to come over here. So there's a speaker right here. Say hello to the people.
Hello.
All right. So, Marv, do you remember the times when you would talk to me
Hello.
and you would get nervous and then I would get annoyed?
Yes. Hello.
What? Simon says hello. What would I always what are some of the things that I would tell you when you would start to stutter and you couldn't get your lines out?
You would say, think before you talk.
Okay.
Think about what you're gonna say before you talk.
And then you would come back, and then what would happen?
I would stutter again.
And then you would stutter again. Can you describe what you were feeling in those moments? Is it possible?
If I was doing like an assignment for
Make sure you talk clear. Make sure you talk up.
if it was like an assignment for school,
Mm-hmm.
I would always have to think about what I'm gonna write, and then I have to tell you, and then I'd stutter, and then I'd
Mm-hmm.
try to think of something else. I keep on stuttering until I.
Mm-hmm. Was I? Did I intimidate you in those moments, or did I intimidate you? Did I make you mad? Did I annoy you in those moments? Can you remember how it made you feel?
Intimidated me.
Intimidation. Okay, but now we talk a lot now, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that we talk about? What do we talk about? On 9 times out of 10, what are we talking about? Some of the things.
Probably.
You gotta talk up. Sean.
Mostly just things about basketball.
You talk a lot about basketball. You want to talk about anything else?
Not that I think of.
We talk about basketball players. We talk about
To what I know was like basketball related things.
basketball related things. We talk about basketball related things. So we talk a lot about. We talk about some of your friends. Some of your friends that I don't like. I encourage you sometimes to punch them in the face. But you're
Catherine.
that's only Catherine. But we have a much better. We have a lot more fun communicating. Wouldn't you say? I said we have a lot more fun communicating. Wouldn't you say? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you say means do you agree?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So you talk to me a lot about every day when you hop in the van. What do you tell me when you hop in the van after school?
Tell you about how I did playing basketball.
You tell me how you did when you played basketball. You give me the stat sheet. You give me your stats from that day. And then we also talk a little bit about clothes and stuff like that. You're in the Nike stuff, and you're into NBA apparel, right?
Yeah.
We talk a little bit about character. Who do I think is a fraud?
Paul George.
Paul George is an absolute fraud. Now, he can play, right?
Yeah.
He can play, but the love that he gets from basketball analysts, I think is a little undeserved, because I don't think he performs in clutch moments. When does Paul George succeed, Mar? When is he at his best?
When he plays teams that aren't as good as his.
Yeah, and also we talked about if he's up, if his team is up by a lot of points,
Yeah.
or if they're down and there's no pressure, right? If there's no pressure, then he performs. Now, who's clutch in the NBA?
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving's clutch. Give me 2 more people who you think are clutch in the NBA. They got to be current guys. You can't say Kobe or Mike.
Probably Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, yeah, Steph Curry is definitely clutch. Do you know who my favorite player is? I have two.
No, because I can only think about Michael Jordan.
One plays for the Spurs.
Marcus Aldridge.
Kawhi. Marcus Aldridge is cool. He's Team Jordan, but Kawhi, who's my other? I have another favorite player. He plays for OKC.
Westbrook.
Yeah, those are my two guys. Those guys I think are clutch, but we don't know. We don't. Russell Westbrook might be clutch just because he takes so many shots.
Yeah.
But we talk about character, and we talk a little bit about why is this guy clutch, why is this guy not clutch, so on and so forth. So we talk about basketball. We talk about school, right? We talk about school. By the way, since we have you on the podcast, you're going to be doing this Martin Luther King speech, right? You're going to be doing one line for it, right?
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with the people or sharing your one line in this Martin Luther King speech with the people? Now look, you can do it. Just do it two times. You can do it your way first.
Yeah.
And then do it the way that I'm encouraging you to do it. Would you mind doing that for the people?
Yeah.
But you got to say it loud. You got to not say it loud, but you have to speak up.
Okay. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Now that's your way, and I think that's a pretty good start. But I think that you could do it a little bit more oomph and take them to church a little bit. And I think the people would get a little bit more out of it, right? So can you share with the people how you can give them a little bit more oomph? Do you mind? Mm-hmm. All right. If only you can see it, people. But hopefully, although you can't see it, hopefully you can feel it. All right. So Mar's about to let you know how he feels, and go to the depth of his soul to give you this one line. You ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
We hold these truths.
Oh yeah, preach.
Self-evident.
Yes.
That all men are created equal.
I thought you were going to say all men and women.
Yeah. All men and women, boys and girls, are created equal.
Yeah, we threw that. All men, women, boys, and girls are created equal to be inclusive, correct? Because in these days and times, with diversity, equity, and inclusion, you want to make sure that you're being inclusive, right? All right. So, man, that's it, man. I this is an impromptu thing, and my son and I, we're growing together, and we're getting stronger together, and our relationship and our bond is getting stronger. And you were my first guest. You were my first ever guest. Marvin Fox III was my very first guest. My next guest has to be my main man, Nate Schmidt, because he gave me the idea for this thing. So at some point, I'm going to put him on, and I know what I want to talk to him about too. But Marvin, you're my first guest. I appreciate you giving me your time and speaking to the people. And I think, Marvin, you talking to the people is a sign of confidence. And I think because of our relationship and because we talk so much, we can have fun doing things like this, and it shows, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we're done. We're done. So there's no applaud, no music or nothing like that. I just want to share something that I've discovered in my life, which is intention, and how powerful it can be when you decide how you want to show up, and then when you are intentional about thinking about what you want to think when you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And I want to be a better father. I want to be a better friend to my son, but I also want to be excited and appreciative about the times in which we engage one another. And I know that because I've been intentional, he is mirroring or reflecting my energy, and that is why we're growing together. Are we as strong as we will be moving forward? No. But I can tell you this much, we are much, much stronger than we were yesterday. And if we can continue to move forward like that, day by day, getting stronger and stronger, there's no telling what we can do together. So with that being said, take care, have an awesome, awesome day. And that's it. Marvin Fox Jr., done. Marv, say done.
Done.
All right, y'all guys take care.